Good morning, good morning, good morning, and happy Veterans Day. JT here with another Chart Talk Live brought to you by Xtrades. I hope everybody is having a fantastic week so far. Markets have been, excuse me, getting probably interesting is the best word for it. We obviously saw that big pullback throughout the week. Last week actually really kind of started prior to last week, but then we had that big dip on Friday. Looked like everything was going to break down pretty hard after that, and then all of a sudden we got a huge bounce. Bulls really stepped in to save the trend. Is probably the right way to say that. What's up, Navy Plum? Good morning to you. Hope you're doing well. What's up, new trader? I like the new tag, Theta Cartel. Let's collect those premiums. It's one of my favorite passive income strategies. All right, so let's dig in. Let's take a look at ES. That's what we use as our gauge for which direction we think the market's going. Then we'll obviously get through some trade plan recaps and new trader already on top of it, getting in ticker requests. So if you all have any questions or ticker requests, whether you're on YouTube or our Discord, please feel free to start dropping those in the chats. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop those in the chats. All right, with that being said, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay on top of me, Navy Plum. I need to start paying you uh, as like a just a somebody who keeps an eye on me and makes sure that I'm not like not doing something pretty obvious or that I didn't typo the spy plan. Thank you for keeping me straight, man. I really appreciate it. I will pay you with profitable trade plans. How's that say? How's that sound? It's a good tit for tat. All right, so um, hang on. I'm excited to see what Maybe Plum's typing here. All right, so let's take a look at ES. Like I said, we obviously saw pretty the live stream isn't. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. All right, so like I said, we saw that pullback. Looked like things were gonna break down pretty hard there. If we're looking here on the 4-hour chart, swept liquidity below and then bounced hard out of there. So interesting move by the bulls there. Maybe a little bit of a shakeout, breakdown, fake out, whatever you want to call it, liquidity sweep before they decide to move things higher in the markets. Um, if we are taking a look at this and maybe projecting or looking at a potential setup, which does not really mean anything until the setup's actually validated. Actually, you know what? Now that I look at this, never mind. I take that back. The more I looked at it, the more I realized that technically it's actually already played out. Never mind. I'm gonna shut up. I was looking at a potential head and shoulders, but then as I was looking at it, I realized the neckline was a bit higher, and we essentially already broke down below it. So forget what I was just saying. Um, but we have pushed back over, back testing 68, 35, 25 here as support. We found resistance there previously, seemed to be struggling around this, call it 68, 65 range. I think if we get through that, though, we will clearly, or we should definitely see a retest of all-time highs here on ES up to 69.51. So keep an eye on that 68, 65 level for a break to push higher. And then we could see 69.51. That's definitely a decent upside move where you can make a lot of money on strong names. What's up, History Buff, aka Ryan BFB? Yep. You keep mentioning this one. I'm not going to deny it today. We will take a look at it. I promise. If tariffs are repealed by the Supreme Court, Ryan believes that this Brown Forman Corp is going to rip. He was right about Flowers Foods back in the day. I forget what the catalyst was at the time, but it was a fantastic trade. So with that being said, let's get to some trade plan recaps. Let's get some new plans underway. That's what we're here for, right? So, looking at ASST, this one we did on last Tuesday's stream. It gave us the upside break. Keeps bouncing and finding support down there, but just refuses to get to push and stretch to get us up to 181. That being said, hasn't broken down below the call stop loss average down. This is one that I did recommend to pick up shares versus options because it could take a while for it to actually break out. When it does, could break out and push really hard. So keep an eye on it. I'm still holding a decent number of shares on this name, looking for it to break out of this consolidation and push up to that 181 level. If it can break over that, I think it continues possibly up to PT3. We could see it start to squeeze and go even higher than that. Pretty much parabolic opportunity here potentially, but nothing's guaranteed in the market, so keep an eye on it. We do have the 200 crossing back above the 333, and both of those are curling up now, so that's also a good look here on the 1 hour. So this one might be priming the pump to make a big push here, so keep an eye on ASST. It's also not that far off from the call entry level, so if you like the idea of picking up some shares on this one, go ahead and scoop some here pre-market. Nothing's stopping you. We're only 8 cents off the call entry there. And like I said, it looks like everything is starting to line up that this should push. Again, there's no guarantees, but the setup's there. All right, next we've got Adobe. Adobe's just consolidated. Also kind of just slowly wound its way to the downside. I'm just going to take a look at this, see how I might republish the alerts on this one so we can keep an eye on it. I just want to see. Yeah, you know what? I am going to do that. Let's go ahead and let's push this one back out. The other thing we could look at is a potential. You know what? I'll put this one last. We want to work on new ticker requests. Nothing's happened with Adobe so far, but I would like to revisit the plan on this one if we have time today. So keep Adobe on the back burner for if we have time. So far, again, we've got FIG or TTD and BFB Brown Foreman Corp for Ryan Brown. All right, AMSC, this one would have been a bit tricky. I want to show you all where this setup was, and also mention that this it would be a, how do I say this the right way without like totally encouraging bad habits? If you're gonna take a shot on an earnings report, and it's not something I recommend you do unless it's money that you absolutely do not care about. If you could go outside and take that cash and put a match to it and watch it burn into tiny little ashes, okay, take that money and throw it into an earnings play. Other than that, stay the hell away from swinging options through earnings. Unless it's like a leap or something like that. Obviously, different story, but don't buy options to try to make a quick buck on earnings reports. Anyway, that being said, 200 crossing below the 333, runs up, starts to reject that. Ultimately, that led to all three price targets to the downside, hitting here on AMSC, and it's continued to go even lower, now down to 36.79. This one could start to become a bargain buy opportunity. How bad was their earnings? That's not terrible. I mean, they made better money, made more profit on less money. There's not a whole lot wrong with that, at least based on the expectations. Yeah, this might be an interesting one to keep an eye on to accumulate some shares in your long-term portfolio. It is power related. I think we're going to see lots of energy names really start to pop as infrastructure starts to get developed and redeveloped to continue to support the massive amount of power that's being consumed by crypto and AI and all that good stuff. So keep an eye on AMSC. This one could be a decent dip buy in the near future. Just make sure that you're buying at support, and then let it roll from there. All right, so let's get to IREN. This one played out to the upside for us already. Did kind of wind up under a little bit of a downtrend, pulled back to our call entry, bounced off that, took it all the way to PT3. We absolutely nailed this one. Couldn't have asked for a better move on it. Took us all the way to PT3, and then from there, PT3, all the way back to the put entry where it found support, and it's retesting that now. Looks like it might try to double bottom. They also had a really, really big surprise beat there and a very, very small miss on the revenue side. So IREN is definitely one that I would be looking at to hold this 58.29. If it does, I would scoop some shares and hold and let them try to push for 78.86 and potentially new all-time highs. But yeah, IREN plan played out beautifully, and I mean, honestly, how good were our levels on this one? Let's see, what was the high of that candle? 78.85. Okay, we were off by a penny on that rejection that we called out a couple days prior. And let's see how close this low is. 58.38. All right, that's a little further off, 9 cents off, but still, levels on point. All right. Yeah, what's up, LB? Good morning. Good to see you. What's up, Gardle? Good to see you. Definitely great to see you. I'm gonna shoot you a DM today, by the way. Just heads up. It's not a scam or a spammer. What's up, Sunshine? What's up, T? What's up, Serge? Good to see you all in the mix. All right, Meta. We had this one from last Thursday's live stream plan. This one tried to play out to the downside. It kind of slid below there with that big market pullback Friday. A lot of things swept liquidity on Friday, so don't be mad at yourself if you got caught in this one. It was definitely setting up to continue to push down lower, and then the whole market bounced as the bulls stepped in aggressively to save the weekly trend line and that 333 SMA that we were looking at there on ES, the 4-hour chart. So Meta's back in the consolidation range. Keep an eye on it. Mark these levels on your chart. These alerts will continue to post through and close of the markets tomorrow for Meta. So keep an eye on it. Could be trying to build a base here over 619.40. If it can get over this 330. Oh, wait, we're on the 15-minute. Wait a second. That looks like a lot of candles. No, I take that back. Still looking pretty firmly bearish. Nice confluence there, but if it can break over 635.10, that could potentially open up some things to the upside. So keep an eye on Meta. And last but not least, and then we'll get to some new trade plans here. Riot did play out to the downside, gave us the break below, back tested that put entry, pushed down to PT1. Now it's trying to break out back above this downtrend. Seems to be back testing and finding support near it. I'd watch this one closely. Could be another one, another interesting name to potentially scoop some shares. If it can get back over this descending trend line and try to push up to the top of this channel, over the top of that channel, then it gets real interesting. So there you go. All right, let's get to these new trade plans. No more delays. New trader, do you have a preference between FIG or TTD as the first ticker? And then if we have time, I will circle back to your second request. We'll also take a look at gold for LB. FIG. All right. Wrong layout. That's not going to be useful. Come on. There we go. All right. Figma Inc. thought we've looked at this before. No, I guess not. All right, cool. Well, naked chart. Let's knock it out. Holy smokes. It's a really ugly naked chart. All right. This is going to be interesting. I like a challenge, new trader. But you're really testing me on this one. Okay. That's all right. Like I said, I like a challenge. Yeah, I was going to say, probably not going to find jack squat there on the weekly chart. I do want to check one thing here. Yeah, that's pretty decent, actually. I'm not seeing a bunch of... Yeah. All right, cool. Just wanted to figure out if I'm using the daily or the 24-hour chart. For those who aren't familiar with TradingView, the daily chart in TradingView only accounts for your regular trading hour session. So that's why you need to create, or I personally, don't say you need to, but I personally like to use the 24-hour chart. It's a custom time frame that you have to set up in TradingView, as it can be. It is essentially daily candlesticks that include extended hours. So, quick tip, TradingView tip for you guys there. This one does have does a nice job of setting support and resistance and responding to it. So that's something I like to see. It's iffy, but also probably way outside the range of anything we're gonna need for the foreseeable future. There is our, well, there's our low. We'll need that here in a moment. All right, let's check this 4-hour chart. So, let's see. Now the question is, does that extend back? It's what I'm wondering. It does. And it's butting right up against it. But that gives us a pretty good origin point for figuring out how we're going to trade this to the downside if that continues. It's a little shy of hitting there. Trend lines aren't perfect though. I'm going to say this looks like a good start to this trend. It has been consistently lower highs since then, all the way down to this low. See where that lands us. Yep, that looks pretty good. Because I see support and resistance right here that we didn't already have. Ooh, I pulled that up a little bit far. Hang on, let me fix that. Sorry. There we go. Perfect. Accuracy in all things when it comes to trading, my friends. All right, let's go. So we've got some downside, downside fib extensions here. Get that on. Ah, come on, man. What are you doing? There we go. Boom. Boom. Don't see that often. Trend-based fib extensions to the downside, but there you have it. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Learn a thing or two from watching what I do. If you ever want to sit down with me and just kind of talk through it, I do one-on-one mentoring. Yeah, that trend does start there. It still holds up. And it looks like it wants to break out though. Trying to double bottom, it might push here, but we'll see. We'll see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's have a plan. Hmm. Yeah. Go ahead and call that limited candles to work with. All right. Yeah, this is looking pretty solid. Mostly daily levels and uh, trend-based fib extensions so far. Let's hide this just so. Oh, actually, I'm going to need that again here in a second, but I'll worry about it later. All right. So pretty clearly, if we break back below, well, hang on. Let's think about this first. Do have, yeah, there's an hourly level sitting right in there. So this is going to be a tough one. I do want those trend-based fib extensions back, actually. All right, let's take, I want to see something here real quick before I go. Saying that this is going to be the plan. Ugh, it barely meets the minimum criteria and not an ideal setup. So keep this in mind, and I'll go ahead and kind of teach you all something here real quick. So, sorry, should have explained it. Well, here, just do that. So, if we look at this, screw off, there we go. If we look at this short position tool here in TradingView, you grab it over here. Short position, long if you're looking for an upside, short if you're looking for a downside. Place your risk reward here on the, dang it, I keep doing that. Place your risk reward here on the chart. Obviously, this is the potential entry that we're looking at. This is a potential first price target. And this is what we're looking at as a stop loss average down for this downside trade plan. Although I feel like we should play this tighter, because if it snaps this downtrend, it could run. Problem is there's not a really good or well-established support and resistance level anywhere lower. So this makes it challenging, and I told you I like a challenge. You know what? I could... Where's it? Yeah, you know what? I could make a case for moving this a little bit, actually. Again, we're using very limited data here, so don't expect the level of accuracy I normally have, but we'll see. Anyway, going back to what we were saying here with the long short tool, when you see something like this 1.02 risk reward ratio, to me, what that tells me to do is, if I am going to take a shot at this downside plan, I'm going to keep it very small starting off. So I'm not going to go anywhere close to my normal full position size. If I've got a better risk reward ratio, 1-to-1 is the bare minimum. Anything below that, you're doing a lot of things wrong. Call for help. So just wanted to talk about risk reward ratios and how to use those to kind of influence your starting position size. It's almost like, if you know anything about maintaining a count on a blackjack table, you know, if you're checking, you know, the face cards versus the low cards, and following kind of the count as best you can, you're going to adjust up and down how much money you're betting based on your probability of getting blackjack, based on how many aces and faces and tens have come out of the deck so far. So keep, you know, so anyway, long story short, kind of the same principle. Obviously, I don't mean to compare trading to gambling, because it is not. Can't have a, you know, 70% plus win rate at the casino. So anyway, long story short, make sure that you're using these risk reward setups to influence your initial position size on some of these trades. Now, if we adjust this stop loss, and I think it's in a reasonable adjustment, again, based on pretty limited data, but I do see support and resistance. And again, with those few candles to work with, I think it makes sense. But the other thing that I like about tightening this up a little bit, and again, we're not adjusting these risk reward ratios just to make them work for us. But I could also make a case, and what really got me wanting to look for a little bit of a lower stop loss is the potential of breaking this downtrend. So if we do break that downtrend, I certainly wouldn't want to be in anything short or in puts or anything along those lines. I do see some resistance and some support across this level right here at 43.33. So if we adjust our stop loss down there, we're looking at a 1.57. That's much better. That's kind of getting me leaning closer to doing a full position size. Maybe not a full. I really want to see kind of like 2 to 1, just getting us to PT1. Now, granted, we will have additional price targets to the downside, and all that we really have to work with are these trend-based fib extensions to the downside. So the overall risk reward on this plan is a lot higher, right? About 4 to 1, but you're not guaranteed that you're going to get anything more than PT1, right? You might hit PT1 and bounce there. So that's why I always like to gauge the risk reward or how good the setup is off of just getting to PT1 versus the totality of the plan. Does that make sense? And how did I get that tool risk reward? It's right over here. LB, short position, long if you're trying to figure out your risk reward to the upside, short if you're trying to find your risk reward to the downside. Drop it on the chart, adjust your lines on it. So these lines right here, see how I move that, my reward area, my risk area. So make sure that lines up with your put entry for the short tool, that the top of the risk area lines up with your stop loss, and that the bottom of the reward area for a short setup lines up with PT1. And that'll give you your risk reward getting to PT1. It's also built into the trade plan navigator that you'll see here in just a second. So if you all want access to that and you're a paying Xtrades member, it's totally free. We'll set anybody up for it that wants it. You can use it to plug in the daily spy plan levels. I had somebody asking about like having a channel that's specifically for the JT bot spy plan alerts and stuff like that. Just get this trading view indicator, plug in my levels into it, and you're off and running. Set your alerts. All right, so where are we going with this upside trade plan is now the question. Obviously, it gets interesting if it breaks this downtrend. I want to see my indicators now. I knew we didn't have anything below us, but above us, I want to pay attention to that. I do think there's a decent little window of opportunity with a pretty well-defined risk area. Although I could also make it, let's not get silly. Oops, wrong. There we go. That looks better. Now this is an interesting double top right here. Was pre-market. Yeah, you know what? I could make a case there being an hourly level sitting right here. 200 SMA could be right around that neck of the woods, or even PT1, depending on how long this takes to play out. Also puts us very close to getting topped out by Neptune there. But over that, I think it moves to 50.27. Can only be ran one ticker per. Try to set plans for. Yeah, that's correct, sir. So what I do, right, is here, I'll show you. We'll do it right here together. So we've got our trade plan set up, so let's plug this into the trade plan Mine says pilot. Your version will say navigator. 45.15, 68, 48, 26, 50, 27. Call down 44.03. Whoops. 03. Put entry 42.03. 40.12. 38.56. 36.96. Stop loss average down at 43.33. This is a call put, not a shared stop loss average down. So we'll pop this on the chart. Now you can see up here your risk reward ratios getting to PT1 on the call side, PT2 on the call side, PT3 on the call side, or PT1, 2, 3 on the put side of things based on where our entries, stops, and price targets are. So it's all ready to go for you, right? So let's here do this. So going back to your question, Serge, what we're going to do is we're going to save this indicator template. We'll remember this symbol, and we're going to save it to Tuesday live stream plan 1. Save. Yes. So because we remember the symbol, now if we ever want to go back and check this fig plan, I just got to go to my Tuesday live stream plan 1, pulls up fig, pulls up trade plan navigator with all the settings. We're good to go, right? Now, if we go to another ticker like BF-B, now we found this before. What was it? Are you sure, Ryan? Was it like BF.B? There we go. Yeah, I knew I'd figure it out. New York Stock Exchange. So if we go to this, right, and it's going to plop the trade plan pilot on this chart way up here, right, which we don't really need or want. What I do is I have another indicator template set up. That's essentially all these same indicators, including trade plan pilot, but trade plan pilot's just hidden. So if I ever want to say, like, you know, just, okay, I don't need a trade plan pilot on there with a bunch of levels that don't apply yet, I just click this other indicator template. Best thing to do is save, or favorite your templates that you're using frequently. That way they're always just a click away. So now it's very easy for me to switch between that fig trade plan. And if we go to BF.B, I can switch to essentially a blank one until I set up those plan levels. Then I lock it in as a template. So anyway, let's get this done. Ryan's been asking this for a while. He says it's going to absolutely fly if tariffs get shot down by the Supreme Court. He was right about Flowers Foods. I believe he'll be right again. So, let's go. This one's been around since the dawn of time. No, just kidding. 1999. At least that's how far back the chart says. We're going to have to really, I mean, it hasn't seen these price levels in a long time. So I see why you're interested in it. Oh, got my drawings in. There we go. I really need to use my full ultra wide screen for this one, but if I do that, it's gonna make y'all's screens look really nuts. So I'm not gonna do that. I'll make it work. That's a really interesting little shelf that it built right there. Another interesting double bottom. So I'm gonna need to look at that one on another time frame. Yep, I see it there. Where is it? Ah, there it is. It's like there's something around here. Where is it? There we go. Oh boy. Yeah, I think you absolutely nailed it. Sounds like you just removed all your hair if I said nailed it. Nailed it. With that, my take on it is I agree. First of all, I would say normally, uh, you know, this is a clear cut unconstitutional use of emergency powers to levy a tax on the American people. There's no question about that whatsoever. That being said, and I agree that I don't necessarily trust this current Supreme Court to not essentially be a bunch of political pawns with, you know, especially with like Clarence Thomas on there. But that being said, I think that from what I'm some of what I've read as far as like the transcripts of the oral arguments, um, it's I, I'm getting the vibe that SCOTUS um, is very aware that everybody is basically saying like, are you guys actual jurists or are you just a bunch of, you know, hacks? And so I think they're aware of that, and I think that they are, you know, want to be, they want to hold on to their legitimacy, and they're quickly losing it. So you know, I think that that could potentially help push them in the right direction, despite you know their, you know, the vast majority of those SCOTUS members um, who would prefer to just cater to whatever Trump wants, regardless of if it's right or good. So I certainly hope that this one breaks the right direction and we see, you know, actual legal analysis and constitutional analysis take place and be applied versus, you know, fuck it, we're gonna break everything approach that I feel like we see a lot of. That's my take. And then, but you know, I guess then there's also the very, very, very sticky situation of okay, so do we have to pay these tariffs back to these companies and taxpayers? And if so, how do we calculate or quantify that? I think if we were talking about a company that's paid tariffs, they've got books and they can clearly see what their import duties are and have track that and come up with a pretty clear and definitive number. But so, you know, again, big business could potentially be the winner uh, if that were to be the case. While Joe and Jane consumer, average US taxpayer, don't have an accounting department, don't have all their receipts for everything that they've bought that clearly tell you how much of that price that you paid was for tariffs. So almost impossible for them to come up with essentially a realistic amount of damages to make a claim for when it comes to tariffs. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like it. Man, we should just talk politics and legal precedent sometime. It sounds like that would be a really good conversation. I agree 100% with everything you just said. All right. It is a little bit political, but it's interesting. All right. So, what are we going to do here with BFB? I think we definitely need to break those lows before anybody tries to go short on this one, but I think the overall thesis here is a long position that I think looks pretty good over this 2801 weekly level. Gets over that. I don't think we've got anything holding us back from retesting 2961. Whoops. That weekly level's a little higher. I'm going to say, let's take a shot at 3089 as I look at this. And then on up to 3204. Stop loss average down right here at 2658. So the question is, yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think there's I think there's been, I forget the count. I want to say it's like 7 or 8, could be 6, like emergency declarations in the first, not even year of this presidency. Um, I haven't observed anything that qualifies as an emergency where we need to disrupt the balance of powers uh, in government. So, yeah, I think it's an erroneous use of the Emergency Powers Act, and I think the Constitution is absolutely plain and clear that it is the role of Congress to levy taxes, not the executive branch. And anybody that says tariffs not a tax, or tells you, even if they tell you repeatedly, that those tariffs get paid by anybody but somebody here in the United States, they are not somebody I would listen to. It's just like it's like saying the sky is purple. I guess it could be at sunset. It's like saying the sky is green. All right, let's get this locked in here. I know we got a little bit sidetracked. We did have 2 totally blank charts we had to knock out today. Yep, absolutely, Ryan. I'm with you, brother. I think hopefully even those of us who do not hold a Juris Doctorate in as a legal studies professional, if we can spot that obvious fact, you would think the Supreme Court would be able to figure it out, but we'll see if they are going to retain any legitimacy or not. All right, 2801 takes us to 2961, 3089. Yeah, definitely a little bit of a sidebar discussion there. Apologies if I offended anybody's personal political beliefs. It's not my intention. It was a little bit more of just a, I think a pretty fact-based discussion on what the Constitution says. All right, let's get this locked in for Ryan. And again, if these tariffs do get swell, and it was based on the trade too, right? Like we just didn't pull tariffs out of our ass. The theory or thesis here for Ryan, who's over on the YouTube side of things, who mentioned this ticker that I have never heard of prior to today, is that if tariffs, if and when tariffs do get repealed or struck down or whatever the correct terminology is for that, oh my God, I just realized I did like all that stuff and never posted the charts for the plan from the last ticker. My bad. Let me fix that real quick. Good thing I saved it as an indicator template. My bad. Let's get this looking nice where it's easy to see. Let's hide our drawings. Let's go. Time's a wasting. All right. There we go. That looks pretty decent. Spread that out a little bit. Well, I'm going to leave that 333 in the mix there so you guys can see generally which direction it's heading. Let me copy this link. Here you go. This is the FIG live stream plan. Gotta get this over in the elite chat. And we gotta set our alerts. I almost forgot like all of these steps. Cool. All right, cool. That's locked in. Let's get this one locked in as well. Yeah, a lot of agreement, confluence, a lot of things will break over 2801 there. And it could just continue to move higher. So here is our BF-B live stream plan. I think this is the first time I've ever published a plan that has a period in it, or a decimal, or whatever you would consider that. BF.B. I think maybe we did Berkshire Hathaway once, like BRK.A or something like that. All right, cool. It's there. Let's also get it published here. All right, and let me get my message link. I think I forgot that. Message link. Let's plug that in. Set these alerts. All right, so what are we looking for here on BFB, which is Brown, what was it again? Brown-Forman Corp. We're looking for it to break over 2801. That should bring targets at 2961, 3089, and 3204 with a stop loss average down at 2658. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 2561. That should give us targets at 2434, 2320, and 2216 with a stop loss average down at 2658. That's your BF.B live stream plan. Just a quick recap on FIG, because I don't think I did it. For this one, we're looking for a break over 45.15 with targets at 46.88, 48.26, and 50.27, with the stop loss average down at 44.03. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 42.03. That should give us targets at 40.12, 38.56, and 36.96, with a stop loss average down at 43.33. Those are your live stream plans for this morning. All right, folks, we're about 10 minutes out from market open. I do need some time to get this SPY plan put together for the day, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a live stream here. We will be back Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m., so go ahead and mark your calendars. Quick question from T. Wait, okay, quick. What's your question? What do you think about NVIDIA today? I'll give you a quick read on NVIDIA. They can move each other. See, NVIDIA is part of the S&P 500. I think it's pretty heavily weighted, not as heavy as like Apple, but pretty heavily weighted. So as those tickers move up, that's what causes SPY to move up. But if other names are moving up besides NVIDIA and the whole market starts to move up, that could also pull up NVIDIA. So yeah, it's kind of a two-way relationship, I'd say, as far as which moves which. But to give you a quick read on it, nice push to the upside here. Bullish momentum kind of fading a bit here on the hourly. Still have that gap to fill down to 190.22. I personally would like to see a pullback and gap fill down to that 190.22 level. We could see like just a quick sweep below the 333 SMA here and bounce off of that 190.22 to push higher. SMAs are bullish overall, NTS is bullish, long signal, but we do have that gap kind of lingering there. Doesn't have to fill, but that's where I personally would like to take a long entry on a bounce opportunity. It's broken out any downtrends unless it's establishing a brand new one here, but it's not confirmed. Yeah, I think it's just a wait to buy the right dip, or I'd like to say you could take a shot over 198.53. That would be the other spot to go long, but I'd rather catch that gap fill and bounce than trying to catch a breakout. So that's my quick take on it. Keep 190.22 and 198.53 on watch. All right, folks, I got to wrap it up. I got to get the SPY plan together. You guys have a fantastic, guys and gals, I should say. Y'all have a fantastic day. I will see you guys back here Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we always say here on Chart Talk Live. Playing your trades, trade your plans. Remember, we're looking for profits, not perfection. So go out there and get some green. Build that account up. I will see you guys in the chats, and I will see you back here next Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Take care.